Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22. Isn't that a cool effect? Gotta love the high quality cameras. So, I wanted to talk about a dear friend of mine. I've really talked about him on the show. A lot of people are lost to us from 2024, and now that we're in 2025, um, today is particularly kind of odd for me. Not that I lost him on this day or I met him on this day. There was nothing really to that. So shout out to my guy Rod. This is nothing to do with you, Rod. I know we lost him in 2024. We lost my friend Joe in 2024. Um, but this is I wanted to do a shot in commemoration of my friend. Well, sip on a shot in commemoration of my friend George Brown. I met George in October of 2023. He came to bail us out. We were short. Um, we had lost we lost Dave, the mechanic, at A1, and well, Dave was not doing too well, so we also lost Dave in 2024, um, and we lost Dave in 2024. But it was one of those things. That Dave wasn't doing too well, so we had lost him and another guy in October, and yeah, just it was just one of those things, you know. It was just so. Anyways, Dave, we had lost. We had, Dave wasn't doing too well. We lost another guy. Sorry, I had a kid knocking at the door too. So kind of distracted me. Um, then yeah, then we met George through a friend of ours. This is the second person that had been forwarded to help us out down at the rental shop by this individual, and you know, the first guy didn't really work out. Um, and George, I'd known him for 6 months, and it was he became like my best friend. And after he had passed, I guess I didn't really know some of George's backstory as well. Um, and I had come to learn it afterwards. Um, so I came to learn some of his backstory a little bit after he had passed, and it wasn't it was anything uncommon for like the you know the class of employee that you can gather nowadays, or subcontractor or what have you, for anybody in Western New York. But um, it was just one of those. It was one of those. It was one of those things that they like. It was not becoming, and I can understand why him nor the person who referred him to us didn't tell us about it. But I mean, we bent over backwards for the guy. He did nothing but great things. So for having some past, he was very must be very ashamed of it. But whatever, it is what it is. He was fighting for custody of his kids. We helped him. We gave him, you know, we referred him to different people, um, and he would work and help me out like 7 days a week. If I needed him down at the shop, he was down at the shop. If I needed help at a rental property, he was there. If I needed help painting, if I was on a deadline for something, he was there. June and I needed a second set of hands. Like he was always, I need to be at work. I need to get my hand busy. I need to keep my head out of wherever his head shouldn't be. And so he just was helping wherever he could. Um, and I'd known him for right about 6 months. And which is odd, right? Like normally, like when somebody's taken from you, it's usually somebody you've known for years on end, 10, 20 years, 5 years, 4 years, right? At least a year. This guy was 6 months, and I felt like I had known him my whole life. It he for the he's been gone since April of 2024. Um, April 26th. My day might be off of today or 28th. Um, I took my whole family down to the wake. It was um, he was a part of us. He was part of our family. And tomorrow is the first day of January sobriety. I actually intend on going longer than just 1 month. Um, and usually when I pick a month of sobriety throughout the year, I give up cigars. Not this is like my first one in forever. So, but this is the last night, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna smoke one. And I bought this. I bought this bottle of 1776 bourbon, and I hadn't tried it yet. Somebody opened it at our Christmas party. We were going to do a shot to George then, and it hadn't happened. And I had bought this bottle to drink with my brother. I got these nice little glasses that also kind of hold your. I got these nice little glasses that hold your cigar. They're little rocks glass. And they have this little notch in them for you to put a cigar in. It was really kind of cool, and I was going to bullshit with them. Ooh, smokes. Ugh. Oh, probably help if I had the microphone near my face too, huh? Yeah, it ain't going dry by then. So I had intended on opening it for him. I opened it at the Christmas party. I was gonna, you know what? Hey, George is a good enough person as any to crack this bottle for. So, but he was a hell of a guy. Just the different stories. So to kind of explain the title of this episode, um, I just he was. I used to just kind of wander around apartments that we were working on together, and I'd just start singing Georgia and just kind of and I don't know Ray Charles like that, right? So I would just say Georgia, and then I would make some shit up, and I don't even know if I got the rest of the melody or the rhythm right. I just would sing Georgia. So that's not bad. Single malt, unfiltered. That explains the taste. So yeah, I so I would sing Georgia. And I would always say, "Hey, Georgia," and I'd call to him, and I would show him different things that he didn't know, and he showed me things that I didn't know. And it's tough. It's tough when you lose somebody, and like I said, it's just a shocker that somebody could have that kind of effect on you and only know 6 months of life. But then again, most people that die, the people lost their minds when JFK got assassinated. Princess Di had passed away. These people they had never met. So I guess it's out there, right? So, but I told the wife, I was like, I just got to go do that shot for George. I'm going to do it on the podcast because that is what I am one to do. And, I'll smoke a cigar for George. He smoked his cigarettes. I like to smoke his weed. Most of you don't know, I don't partake like that. I mean, the guy who smoked a bong on YouTube, right? Well, like as an elected official, the Elon Musk of our area, right? In that regard. I'm gonna sip on the first one. I'll slam the second one in tradition of shots, right? But so he, I would never. So yeah. So to my point, most of you guys don't realize this. It's like, oh, Kevin just smokes pot all day. Like, no, no, I do not. No, I don't. I can pass whatever piss test you want me to pass because I smoked on YouTube in 2018. And then again a year later with another alderman, which nobody really seemed to pay attention to because I guess the hype was over after I did it the first time in 2019 on 420. And the video was out there. The video's on the channel. And nobody said boo about that. And that was the last time I smoked. 2019. 2019. This April will be 5 years since I've smoked pot. Isn't that nuts? But most people go, "Oh, you're the guy who smoked pot on YouTube." Like, just you must be a stoner. No, like George offered me to smoke all the time. Like, you want to smoke? Like, no, no, man. I got shit to do. I don't have time for that. I got stuff going on. I don't have time to be just getting high. And like, he was a functioning pothead. Like he'd smoke on his lunch, just get a little high, and go paint, whatever. Like most people do that. And if that's the worst thing you're doing on my job site, like smoking that like a cigarette, like I mean, shit. I got guys that smoke cigarettes so much you can't walk around them. Not anymore. We got, you know, Dave passed. He was a great guy. Most of you guys knew Dave if you knew us. So uh, Dave was smoking through his neck. We'll miss Dave too. I mean, George had to put up with Dave towards the end. Dave was getting, he's like, I'm listening to the guy. I fixed it. And then he's still telling me what's wrong with it. And he's like, it's fixed. He's like, because Dave he didn't want to look. He couldn't see towards the end. He was smoking a cigarette with an oxygen mask on. The guy was nuts. And even George was like, he's going to blow this place up. And it was one of those, what are you going to do? So, um, yeah. And I still think about it to this day because it was one of those things that I had helped him out. This is to you, George. I'd help you out like as much as I could. I treated you like family. You were the man. And I guess the one thing that got me was that George didn't die of cancer. He didn't die of cigarettes. He didn't die of cigars. He didn't die of weed smoking. Getting into a bar fight. Getting hit by a car. George decided to meet his own maker on his own terms, and he left behind two kids. George hung himself, and I still can't wrap my head around it. And I know he had a lot of shit going on that he didn't talk to me about. And I was with him 7 days a week for 6 months, over 6 months. And it's like, you just never fucking know. You never know. And that's what hit me the hardest because it's like, why? Why? I mean, I guess everybody who has a friend that commits suicide, you think, why? Why did this person do that? Why did they do this? Why did they do this with two young kids at home? George's kids were like 7 and like 11 or 12. Like, it's like, why? Little boy, little girl, like, not at home, like, obviously not at home, but like he was fighting for, like, they were his world. I get to meet him after he had passed. And it just breaks your heart. I guess it takes is one like real bad day, I guess. This mental, just mind fuck of a day that you break down. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And it doesn't take long. What takes less than a minute of you being without oxygen, 2 minutes, and you fucking done. It takes one little pill of shit you find under your sink, one little drop. One of these, half an See a little white mark there? So this is a dram glass. This is a gift from that was left over from my father's wedding. So that that line to the brim is 1 ounce. That is one shot. The line is a half ounce. It's deceiving. This is also very thick glass, but it is deceiving. So to that white mark in gasoline will kill a grown adult male, about 225 pounds. So about me, between 200. So anything under that, dead. So like it just goes to show you, just a little bit of something, right? The shit that you eat, the garbage that you eat in this world, like that slowly kills you. It slowly gives you cancer because you're not paying attention to what you eat because you don't fucking care, right? All it takes is one time for you just to just not feel right and be like, I'm gonna end it, and you just happen to drink a half a shot of gasoline and you can't even get to the hospital in time. They can't pump your stomach, nothing. You just and it's and just trying to grapple with that thought that all it takes is just that brief moment of you just thinking. I remember a friend of mine, I had moved out of New Milford, Connecticut. No, you know what? I still lived in New Milford. I was moving to Olean, and I was sophomore in high school. And a friend of mine, John, his dad took his own life in this garage. He just shut the door and turned the car on. He just went to sleep. I mean, you get a headache, but fucking headache's gonna be gone as soon as you're dead. And it doesn't take long. You're dead. You're gone. And I see John on Facebook, and I'd seen him. Geez, I saw him years later. It was John's. I guess John's doing good for himself, but it's just one of those things. His dad was the hockey coach. Everyone loved the guy. Like I had never met him, but it was one of those things. And a friend of mine, um, Matt, his dad, Randy, who used to go to A1, his dad killed himself this past year. I mean, after George, but it was one of those things. It's like, man, it's something that like it's one thing. Like I'm grappling with it for a guy that I've met for 6 months. Like somebody else has to grapple with that as their dad, right? That 9-year-old kid has to grapple with their dad died. Their dad killed himself, took himself out of this world, no longer is going to be your dad. You have to grapple with that. And Matt's my age, so like Matt has to grapple that as an adult, but also who has kids, like my grandpa, like he has to explain to his kids, like my grandpa, like it's I don't know. I guess we'll never know, but it's I guess I just needed to air my grievances right after he passed. I got a Me and the guys were worried because he went home sick and then he wasn't in the next day. We just assumed he's sick and he lives out of service, just out of service in Cuba. And we're like, man, it's got to be nothing. Because last time I freaked out because like he'd taken his kids camping or something. He had gotten custody. He took his for the weekend and took his kids camping. And he's like, I didn't answer because I was spending time with my kids. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know. You're like one of the best employees, guys that have ever had work for me in a very long time. And whatever. So I was giving him his space. And then, like, the second day rolls around, no word from him. The other guys are like, let's send a car. And then we sent a contractor who was like, well, wait a minute. I drive by there every day to work. And he drove by the place. And he was like, looking at our time. It's blocked by the camera. And he was like, I knocked on the door. He goes, that truck's in the driveway that you said would be there, but he's not there. I don't know what to do. He's like, I knocked on the door, nobody answered. So I called the guy that referred him, who was good friends with him from high school. And I said, what do you like? What do we do? And I'm in the bank drive-through on Friday afternoon in April. And he goes, Kevin, I got to the house. And I knocked on the door because the baby mama recognized me. She answered it. George hung himself. And I'm like, oh my God. And I broke down. I'm crying in the drive-through the bank. I'm a contractor, right? Like contractors aren't supposed to cry, especially in front of the girls at the bank, right? Like you all come through. We're all tough guys as we're all in the drive-through together, like and because that's what you see. Besides just general folks, you see a whole pile of contractors coming through to make and weekend deposits and whatever else you got to do. And it just, I got that call and I called my wife. And she was my wife because we got married February 29th, which one of the few commenters on Facebook was my buddy Rod, who's one of our lifetime subscribers here at Life22, who passed away from cancer. And he was always commented, he's like, beautiful family, beautiful. He appreciated the fact that we posted our wedding on YouTube. And the reason we were able to post it on YouTube was because I'd only known George for 6 months, but I invited him to be at my wedding. I'd been with June for over 10 years. I invited this guy to be at my wedding. He didn't want to be in any photos, but he said he'd work the camera for me. He was one of my best friends. That's why. He was at my fucking wedding. Fuck. He used to tell me we're finishing up. We're finishing up this apartment. And he tells me, he goes, Kev, he goes, have you ever chartered a tuna boat? I go, what the fuck charters a tuna boat, George? He goes, I got a brother who lives down in Florida. And I go down and visit him. And I used to make good money. And he goes, I used to charter a tuna boat. It's a great time. You just charter a tuna boat for a weekend. You go with your buddies and you go. And so if you look in this video, you'll see that there's a hashtag at the bottom. It says chartering a tuna boat. It's for you, George. Someday we're going to charter a tuna boat. We do a shot for you, my friend. I guess this is a good entrance into sobriety. Thinking about my buddy George. I miss you, big guy. So one last. My friend Ralph and Carrie, my wife June will attest to this, and the late Mel Cunningham, his wife Zella Cunningham, who had 15 keys to the city, died at 103, right here in Olean, New York. She was a beautiful woman. She had like 15 husbands too. Mel was the last one. She used to always do this salute. She would have a wine and cheese party. She asked me if I would help her find young folks to come to a wine and cheese party. It ended up being me and Ralph and Carrie, and then it ended up being me, June, and Ralph and Carrie, and then her and her husband, Mel. And Mel's the reason that our county, and almost every county, like from here to Zephyr Hills, Florida, is a Purple Heart County, because Mel was one of those. He was a hard ass guy that just he fought for everything. He was a nice guy. He looked like Don Knotts. But Zell used to, at the end of every wine and cheese party, she would say this, and excuse me if I screw it up. Here's to you, none like you. Those who don't, damn to them, or something along those lines. But you get the gist, right? Because there's none like you. George, to you, buddy. For being a bourbon, you do taste. Well, bourbon just means it's made in Bourbon County, Kentucky, Tennessee, Kentucky. Doesn't mean that it's actually. It might mean that it's a grain alcohol, but I mean usually like they're sweeter because they're made from corn, but they could be made from wheat. Grain alcohol. It tastes like a grain. It's been a while since I've drank whiskey, but George, to you, buddy. Here's to you. There's none like you. Damn few. For those who don't, damn. All right, gang. Thanks for coming for my emotional support. We'll see you guys next time on Life 22. Into a whole new starting this next week off in sobriety. So we'll see you guys next time on Life 22. George, still love you,